Hello everyone, my name is Ivo and welcome to Cooking with the Koyas. It is great to see you because today, folks, we are going to make a Muffaletta Focaccia. Now, a while ago I made a regular focaccia, and if you haven't seen that episode, I'll put a link in the description for you because it came out amazing. But today, folks, we are going to make an absolutely delicious Muffaletta Focaccia. And for those of you who like olives, focaccia is mainly olive based. So if you like an olive bread or anything along those lines, you're gonna love this Muffaletta Focaccia. And you wanna know something else? It is really easy to make. Let's get started right now. So we're gonna start off by making a poolish. And I like to do this the night before. Quite simply, I have 250 grams, which is about 8.8 ounces, of 00 flour. You could use all-purpose flour if you'd like, but I prefer to use a high protein 00 flour. Okay, to that, we're gonna add 1/8 of a teaspoon of instant dry yeast. Okay, you could use active dry yeast as well. That's perfectly fine. And the other thing we're gonna add, this is optional. Now, again, I always give you the best way to make things. You don't have to do it exactly the same way, but if you want the same results, please do it the same way. This is Diastatic malt powder. And I'm gonna put in 1 teaspoon of it. And it's a natural ingredient. It's just malted barley. But what it is, folks, is it's a superfood for the yeast. And I find that it makes a difference. So, can you make this without the diastatic malt? Absolutely. Can you make it with regular flour? Absolutely. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, here I have 250 milliliters of warm water. Warm meaning around 80 degrees. For me, I put it 20 seconds in the microwave and it's perfect temperature. Now that's almost it for step one. All we have to do is just mix these ingredients all together. It's going to be a very soupy almost. It's going to be a very sticky, lots of hydration because it's 100% hydration. So it's going to make a dough, but it's not going to be like a firm dough. It's going to be a very, very wet dough. And that is basically the start of our poolish. That is our poolish. So just give it a mix. I like to use a firm spatula. That's it. Okay, that part is now done. You can see there, it's not firm at all. Okay, and that's our poolish. So how easy was that for step one? That took all of about 1 minute. Okay, now all we do is we're gonna put a lid on this poolish and it's going to sit for 12 to 14 hours. So I usually like to do this the evening before I go to bed. That way the next day I can finish it and make my focaccia. And as you can see here, the poolish, it's about halfway from the bottom up to that red line. It's not touching the red line, it's about halfway there, but it will rise overnight, and I will in fact cover it as well. And that's it. So we'll let it sit there for 12 to 14. I prefer actually 12, but we'll come back somewhere in that range and I'll show you the next step. Here we are, fast forward 12 hours later. Let's take a look at our poolish. Oh my goodness, take a look at that, folks. Oh yeah, look at how high it's come up over that red line. You remember it was below the red line down here, and now it's risen very, very nicely. Beautiful, beautiful start to our poolish there. Wow, nice aroma. Might be difficult for you to see, but there are beautiful, beautiful bubbles and air pockets in there. Okay. Let's get started with our next step. Again, take a look at that poolish. Beautiful, beautiful start. Okay, so to our poolish, we are gonna add our muffaletta. And I want you to take a look here. You can see it's mainly olives. Okay, there are some little bits of carrots and celery in there as well, but it's mainly olives. And what I have here are 8 ounces of muffaletta, which is 1 cup. Okay, and I want to just drain that a little bit. It's typically packed in oil, so we're going to drain some of the excess oil off of this muffaletta. Okay, and the muffaletta I'm using, I got a hot muffaletta that I'm using today. It comes in mild or hot. I want mine a little spicy, so I went with hot. And there's different brands. They're all basically the same, but some are a little better than others. Find the one that you like and stick with it. So, see, we drained all that oil out. And now we're gonna add our muffaletta right to our poolish. So unlike, I know a lot of people like to put toppings on top of their focaccia, but I like to, folks, infuse it right into the dough. And in my opinion, it makes a difference. By putting it on top of the focaccia, to me, it's almost like a glorified pizza. Okay, so inside it goes. To our poolish and muffaletta, I have here now 250 grams, which is 8.5 ounces, of all-purpose flour. So the original poolish, I used 00. Now I'm using all-purpose. Also an all-purpose high-protein flour, but what I found is that combination of regular flour and 00 makes for a fantastic focaccia. Okay, and to that, I have here again our secret ingredient, 1 teaspoon of diastatic malt powder. I also have here 10 grams of salt, a regular table salt, and that is 10 grams is one teaspoon. Okay? And now another secret ingredient. In keeping with my mix theory, we used water yesterday. Today we're going to use milk. This adds a beautiful texture to our focaccia. So what I have here is 100 grams, which is the same as 100 milliliters of milk, or about 3.5 ounces. So the milk, again, you want your milk to be hot. So a little bit warmer than yesterday's water. At 80 degrees, this can be around 100 degrees. And again, for me, it's about the same. It's about 20 seconds in the microwave and it comes out perfect temperature. So I've added my hot milk, and now you just want to mix all those ingredients together. You can see how it's coming together here. Okay, and I like to use the spatula, scrape the edges. Okay, now eventually, as I mentioned, unlike making the poolish, eventually here we're going to have to get our hands in here and get our hands sticky. So let me wash my hands and let's mix this a little more. Okay, so what you want to do here, we're going to get our hands in there, and you're going to want to use what they call the pincer method, which basically is you want to squeeze this dough together to get all those ingredients incorporated together. So you just go in there with your hand and just squeeze the dough. Grab it and squeeze it right through your hands. Grab it, squeeze it right through your hands. Okay, so continue doing this until everything is mixed together very, very nicely, which this step, folks, takes about 1 minute. Okay, you just want to grab underneath, make sure you get it all mixed in together nicely. And there we have it. And yes, it's going to stick to your hands, and you can see basically what we have there is a very kind of sticky dough. All right, so that step is now done. So with our mixing now done, all we have to do, folks, this needs a little rest now. So we're just going to, we're going to cover this and we're going to let it rest for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. So there you can see our dough. Put a lid on and we'll come back in 20 to 30 minutes. It's been about 25 minutes. Our dough's been resting nicely. So what we want to do now are a series of folds. Very, very simple, folks. You just basically pick up the dough. I damped my hand just a little bit, but it is going to stick a bit, okay? But not as much as before. You basically pick up the dough and fold it over. See if I can show it here on an angle. You basically grab the dough and fold it over, okay? Grab the dough and fold it over. So, and you work your way around the dough. And as you do this, the dough will begin to firm up. So basically, you're going to want to grab the dough, grab from the bottom, lift it up, fold it over. Okay? Grab it, lift it up, fold it over. It's very, very easy to do, and it will stick a little bit, but not as much as before. So do that for about 1 minute. All right, and there we have it. Our first series of folds is now done. So, in keeping with our theme, that has to rest for another 20 to 30 minutes. It's been another 20, 25 minutes. Our dough's been resting nicely, and all we have to do now, folks, is the same thing. Lift and fold. Again, start off with a damp hand so that it doesn't stick as much, but work your way around the dough and just lift it up and fold it over. Same thing as we did last time. Lift and fold. Lift and fold. And you can see I can actually lift the whole dough up because it's starting to firm up. So basically you just want to work your way around. Okay, I said a minute, but I like to do at least 20 of these folds. Work your way around at least 20 times, which is about a minute. Okay, and there you have it. You can see how it's firmed up really nicely. And, okay, it sticks a little bit, but not bad. Same thing, we are going to cover this now, but this time, folks, it's going to sit for about 6 hours, 5.5 to 6 hours. We want it to grow and about double in size. Let's take a look here. If I smoothen that out a bit, it's kind of hard to see, but basically it's around the bottom of that. Well, let me straighten it out a bit here. Let's see how much dough we have. We'll see how much it rises. So if I just spread it out a bit. Okay. Yeah, we're basically at the bottom red line. And like I say, we're going to let it rest for 5.5 to 6 hours. It's got to double in size, and we'll check out our progress. And right now, we'll let it rest and go about our day. It's been about 5.5 hours, so let's take a look and see. Oh boy, folks, looky there. Looky there. It has risen so nicely. Look how far up that red line it's gotten. So it says definitely doubled in size. Very, very nicely. Okay. Oh yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful dough right there, folks. Very nice. Okay, so what we do now, a little bit of flour on the counter. Okay, and then let's just remove this dough from our container. I like to use a spatula and just kind of work it out of the container. Nice and easy. Okay, and that little bit, there we go. There we go. Oh, it's a little bit stuck in there. We'll take that out, add that. Nice. We got it emptied. Okay. So, remember those folds we did earlier? Now we're just going to do what I call a 4-fold. Just 4 of them. So, maybe a little bit of flour on the hands. Grab one end of the dough, lift and fold. Grab the other end, lift and fold. Grab the one side, lift and fold, and grab the other side, lift and fold. There we go. So there's our four folds right there. And now with a little bit of flour again on my hand, we're just going to shape this into a round. And by doing so, what I'm going to do, folks, is just cup it underneath and then grab it from the back side and roll it towards me on a dry counter, like that. Okay? Give it a turn, roll it towards me, and what happens is it grips and rolls as you pull it along. Okay? So we make like a medium type ball. That's it. All right. So, in a bowl, a little bit of olive oil, and with a brush, we're just going to brush that olive oil all around to help prevent our dough from sticking. We'll take our dough In the bowl it goes. And now it's gonna rest again for just 1 hour. At that point, we're gonna put it in the oven. So let's let it rest. 30 minutes from now, I'll preheat the oven. And 1 hour from now, we'll get it ready for the oven and start baking. So it's been about an hour. Our oven has been preheating and our dough has been resting nicely. Oh yeah, there we go, folks. Our dough has been resting very nicely. And let's prepare it. So we're going to start off with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on a cookie sheet or tray. And the one I'm using today is 13-inch by 18-inch size, which is a little bit large. And I like to, when I make my focaccia, I like to put it in a larger sized pan so that it has room around it to cook all the way around the edges quite nicely. So that's the way I like it. Of course, you could use a smaller tray if you'd like, no problem. Okay, so, and all you want on here is enough olive oil to prevent the dough from sticking and also to cook and brown up our bottom very, very nicely. So we're gonna take our dough, maybe with a little bit of olive oil on my hands, and I am using extra virgin olive oil. And let's just take our dough out. And again, with a little more olive oil on our hands, we're going to take our dough and start to shape it. Just kind of push down on it and slowly work it and flatten it out to the thickness that you want. If you leave it this thick, it's going to grow very, very high. So I like to work it down to, about an inch or so thick. Especially if I'm going to use the focaccia for sandwiches. That little extra bit of thickness really, really helps. And all I'm doing, folks, is just pushing down. Just pushing down and maybe spreading a bit. Pushing and spreading a bit. Okay? It's really not difficult to do. Push down and spread. Okay? Until you get the thickness that you like. And I try to make it into a rectangular, semi-rectangular shape. Again, the shape, it really doesn't matter, but that's what I try to do. All right, I think that's pretty good. I've got a nice size. It's down to about an inch thick. So that's good. I'm happy with that. So again, with a little bit of olive oil on the fingers, we're going to dimple this down. So with our fingertips, all we're going to do here is push down into the dough, and don't be shy. Push right down, touch the pan. It's not a problem. You can just push it right down and into the pan it goes. Okay, have your dimples. Alrighty. Then, of course, more olive oil. And now this part, unlike the bottom, don't be shy. You want a lot of olive oil on the top. That's what makes a good focaccia, folks. One of the things is lots of olive oil. Okay, and then with a brush, I just brush it, and some is going to sit in the dimples. So those dimples are going to rise anyhow while this dough cooks. That's just the way the dough runs. But for now, it's going to hold the olive oil in there. Alrighty, and there we go. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to add some salt. So here you'd put salt to taste, and I will tell you this, be somewhat generous with your salt as well. Focaccia likes salt, and so does Laura. She likes the focaccia to be salty. So a little bit of layer of salt on the top, and then what I like to do with all my focaccias is put some oregano on top as well. So just sprinkle a little bit of oregano. This, for this focaccia, is optional, folks. If you don't have oregano, no worries. It's not really needed. But if you have it, feel free to use it. Okay, that's it. Let's put this in the oven. Now, as I said, the oven has been preheating to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're just going to put that in the oven. In my oven, folks, typically it takes 15 minutes. But depending on your oven, it could take anywhere from 12 to 15, to 17. It all depends on your oven. What I would suggest is start looking at the 12-minute mark, and then when you get the nice golden brown color that you want, then you know it's done. But for me, it's going to be around the 12-minute mark, and I like to get it all nice and golden brown color. So let's give it about 12 minutes, and we'll come right back at it. Okay, it's been 12 minutes. We're going to take a peek. Oh yeah, it's starting to brown. It's just starting to, but it's going to definitely need the full 15 minutes. So we'll let it stay in there for 3 more minutes, but it's always good to check it at the 12-minute mark. So our 15 minutes is up. Let's take a peek. Okay, now you're talking. Off goes the oven. Oh yes, folks, take a look at this focaccia. That's the golden brown color that I was talking about right there. Oh my goodness, take a look at that. Oh yeah, okay. And you see there's a little bit of olive oil on the top there. We're just gonna take that and spread that around. Let me put it on a hot plate. Take a look at that, folks. Oh my. So if you have olive oil pooled up on top of your focaccia, just with your brush it around. And if you have a little bit that's spilled over on your pan, take that little bit of olive oil and brush it all around. The more olive oil, the better, in my opinion. When you eat focaccia, folks, your hand has to be a little bit greasy. If it's not greasy with the olive oil, then you didn't use enough. Okay, so basically that's it. You take whatever olive oil there is. Sometimes I use even a lot more olive oil and it's really pooled on top here. And again, that's okay. Just brush it all around. All right, I'm gonna let this sit just for a minute or two to cool just a little bit, but I do wanna have a nice hot taste test. Can't wait to cut this open and show you the inside of this, and I can't wait for the taste test. I can't wait too much longer, folks. It's still really hot, but let's take a look at the bottom. Let's take a peek. How does that look? Oh my goodness. Oh, folks, that's what I'm talking about right there. That's absolutely perfect. Ooh, that's a little bit warm. All right, so let's cut this. You know, I'll cut it right now. When you cut your focaccia, if you're making sandwiches, you can cut bigger pieces. If you're using it for appetizers, you can cut smaller pieces. Whatever you want to do, because the focaccia, you can eat it just the way it is, or you can also make sandwiches. So that is looking good, and that feels very hot, extremely hot. And there's the other part right there. Oh yeah. So it's still got a good rise. Even though it has all that muffaletta in there, it's still got a great rise. All right, time for the taste test. Now folks, I like the outside darker parts. So let's cut a nice piece here. Oh, look at this. Still, it's piping hot. Beautiful. Focaccia, folks. Eat it just the way it is. Okay, that's a winner. Muffaletta infused focaccia. What a big difference than just putting a layer of toppings on top. Having it infused in the dough, sitting in the dough as it's fermenting and growing, developing those flavors. Oh my goodness, folks. As I said earlier, if you like olives, you're gonna absolutely love this Muffaletta Focaccia. And I like the fact that I used a little bit of the hot Muffaletta with a little bit of heat. That's quite nice. But you saw, folks, this comes together with very little effort. Yes, it takes time because it has to rest in between stages. But if you look at the actual amount of work involved, it's minimal. It's next to nothing. And look at the results. For me, I'll cut that in half and open it up. To open it up for a sandwich, you can get a knife and cut it, or just, quite frankly, just open it up. And fill it with your favorite fillings. Make yourself a nice sandwich. I'll tell you what, you won't be disappointed. In fact, it's hard to stop eating this. So good, folks. I really hope you give it a try. The mix of the flours, the mix with the water and the milk, the muffaletta, it all comes together so nicely. I am loving this. And as always, folks, I want to thank you for spending time in the kitchen with me. I'm very happy to be sharing this recipe with you, and I hope you give it a try. Thanks again, and until next time, buon appetito. Oh boy.